morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup. Dateline is meant to be the 22nd, but we're a day late. My equipment is so crap. This week's headlines. Gay men were publicly lashed in Indonesia. An American Islamic preacher claimed that LGBT rights are not human rights. Scottish brothers were conned into signing over their farm to a church minister. Lawmakers and Catholic leaders flip out over Satanic black mass at Kansas Capitol. An Arizona bill to let chaplains in schools would ban atheists from participating. The NSS calls for blasphemy laws to be repealed in new Northern Ireland legislation. A fearless Canadian woman has had enough of Toronto's creeping Islamisation. Business owners are split on a new law prohibiting open on Sundays mandate in Utah. An illegal immigrant was arrested for sending $70,000 to ISIS. Here is the news in detail. In yet another horrifying display of Sharia brutality, two young men in Indonesia's Aceh province were publicly flogged on February the 24th for allegedly having gay sex after being caught naked and hugging by neighborhood vigilantes who broke into their room. See this video by Atheist Republic.
And yet another horrifying display of Sharia brutality, two young men in Indonesia's Aceh province were publicly flogged on February 24th for allegedly having gay sex after being caught naked and hugging by neighborhood vigilantes that broke into their room.
During a sermon in Dearborn, Michigan, Islamic preacher Ali Hassan delivered a provocative critique of the Western conception of human rights, claiming that the principles enshrined in the Geneva Convention and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights were derived from Islamic teachings. Another video from the Atheist Republic.
During a seminar in Dearborn, Michigan, Islamic preacher Ali Hassan delivered a provocative critique of the Western conception of human rights, claiming that the principles enshrined in the Geneva Convention and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights were derived from Islamic teachings. Hassan, addressing the largest Muslim community in the U.S., stated, quote, the oldest definition, the oldest place of what is human rights, it was found in the Hadith, not 75 years ago, not after World War II, but when the Prophet Muhammad came to us. He controversially asserted that American capitalism is the biggest terrorist threat today and dismissed LGBT rights as non-essential, calling them civil rights, but they are not human rights. This bold stance highlights a deep cultural and ideological divide on the interpretation of human rights and their origins.
Three elderly brothers who were conned out of their family farm by a church minister and a local businessman were not in the right state of mind to sign anything, a relative has told the BBC. Helen Fraser said her cousins, Hugh, Roderick and David McCulloch, were groomed into signing power of attorney documents by two men, the Reverend Ivan Warwick and businessman Douglas Stewart, who then sold the farmhouse and drained the bank accounts of the vulnerable victims, one of whom had dementia, and the other two who were diagnosed later. The case has led to calls for safeguards around the use of power of attorney, an issue more pressing with an aging population and more people likely to get dementia. Ms. Fraser told the BBC she had been visiting the McCulloch brothers, her second cousins, every fortnight for years at their farm near Muir of Ord on the Black Isle. The brothers were unmarried and there were no children to take on their beloved Logie farm, where they had lived for 30 years raising cattle and sheep. One day in August 2017, Ms. Fraser found Hugh and Roddy in a distressed state and their farmhouse stripped bare. The brothers told her they no longer owned it. Ms. Fraser says that Warwick, a Church of Scotland minister who had preached to King Charles, had befriended Hugh, Roddy and David years earlier. Along with Stuart, he persuaded the brothers, who were in their late 70s and 80s, into granting them power of attorney in 2013. The following year, the farm was transferred to Warwick and Stuart, and after persuading their victims into giving away their home and land, the two men sold the farmhouse and drained their bank accounts. Later, it would transpire that the men had robbed the brothers of more than £1 million. After a legal battle lasting more than 7 years, the police have now said they are reviewing the evidence in the case. A Satanic group's Black Mass, scheduled to take place in the Kansas capital later this month, has led to all kinds of chaos due to lawmakers and Catholic leaders who want to prevent the group from exercising their First Amendment rights. The chaos now involves changing the rules for who can hold events in the capital, a lawsuit against the Satanists, and a formal resolution denouncing the Mass as despicable, blasphemous, and offensive. In this case, the Black Mass is being conducted by the Satanic Grotto, an independent group that's not affiliated with the Satanic Temple or the Church of Satan. The plan was that on March 28th, members would go to the first floor rotunda, which they had reserved, and dedicate the grounds and our legislature to the glory of Satan. While Black Masses are typically inversions of a traditional Catholic Mass, there's no modern guidebook for how to do one. They might include music and chants, maybe the desecration of religious symbols, but more than anything, it's a private group performing personal rituals. They're not hurting anyone. There's no difference between them and Christians who visit public places to pray over them. Texas and Florida have already passed laws allowing school districts to bring Christian chaplains into their schools. Now Arizona wants to do the same thing, and Republicans are determined to make sure that non-Christians are shut out of the process. Senate Bill 1269, sponsored by Republican State Senator Wendy Rogers, a white nationalist who perpetuates the Great Replacement theory, would allow school districts to bring chaplains into their buildings as volunteers, chaplains of their choice. The National Secular Society has called on the Northern Irish Minister of Justice to repeal blasphemy laws as part of new legislation. Responding to a public consultation on an upcoming justice bill, the NSS said the repeal of the common law offences of blasphemy and blasphemous libel should be included. Northern Ireland is the only part of the UK that still has blasphemy laws. They were abolished in England and Wales in 2008 and in Scotland in 2021. The Republic of Ireland, that's the Republic, not Northern Ireland, abolished its blasphemy laws in 2020. Last year, the NSS called on Northern Ireland Minister of Justice Naomi Long to consult on ending blasphemy laws. In 2014, Newton Abbey Borough Council in Northern Ireland banned a play about the Bible on the grounds that it was blasphemous. The NSS said, as long as blasphemy laws remain on the books, there is always the risk that they may be involved to silence criticism or ridicule of religion within Northern Ireland. A fearless Canadian woman has had enough of Toronto's creeping Islamisation. She boldly interrupted a public Muslim prayer where pro-Palestinian Muslim supremacists blocked an entire area, not because they lacked mosques, there are dozens of those nearby, but to assert dominance in a public space. See this video.
Allahu Akbar.
This is a roadway for emergency service. If we have fire or whatever, you're not allowed here. I'm a resident here.
Peace, yes, freedom, yes.
Don't touch her. You're the one who's touching her. Don't touch her.
Don't move where I'm walking.
And you don't come and harass us
I
and
live
ask us
here,
this bullshit.
and this roadway is against the law to block. In Canada, it's against the law.
Are you
It's not engaged.
Yes.
It's not engaged.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine to the sea.
I live here, and these are our roadways. These are our roadways for safety and to get to our jobs and to go to the TTC.
I would love to accompany you so you're safe. Let's go.
I'm not going that way.
Okay, whichever way you want to go, you're free to go.
Whoa,
Thank you.
really?
Have a wonderful time. I appreciate you understanding.
Listen. Totally unacceptable in Ontario. Totally unacceptable. Why we allow this in our government is totally unacceptable.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox has signed into law the Franchisee Protection Act that bans practices.
is in our faith. Rating on those days.
also frequently to an IS affiliate on one occasion, "I'm ready, brother," and on another occasion with a message saying, "This news, Tercia and I may be..." This is in the... Please like, subscribe,